in here. I am in New York hanging out for a few days. I'm having the absolute pleasure of getting to go and learn for a bit, where normally I'm teaching, I get a chance to absorb, and boy am I. So this is day one of a 3-day class I'm taking. It's technically called LeSS for Executives, I think, with Craig Larman, but really the focus of the course is on organizational design and systems thinking, which, my favorite topics. So this is gonna be ramblier than usual, which is saying something, but what I wanna do is do kind of vlog style, capturing my key learnings from each day and sharing them with y'all, and then I'll be able to go back and refer back to these as I try to type up my notes and see what actions I want to take. And then hopefully this is a teaser for you to go and learn similar topics, whether it's in a class like this or going and seeking out the learning from books and articles and your own experiences. So today, our focus was on foundations. So laying out the foundations for systems thinking, why it's so important in large scale systems, and then getting comfortable with systems modeling. So we've been at the wall a few times now, drawing up causal loop diagrams and trying to start to really own our own experiences and own our own insights into large scale systems and why they're so hard. So overall, I think my biggest takeaway today was putting words on something I've been trying to express for a while. A lot of us got where we're at because we have really good instincts. We can trust our gut and we can express confidence in that, where we can say, this is what I think we should do. And I play a lot of D&D, so we've been rolling a lot of 18s, 19s, and 20s, and that's been pretty successful for us. Especially when we've been working at smaller scale. So you've been working with a team, a couple of teams. However, we're starting to hit scale, and scale changes the game. So if you are used to making decisions that impact 6, 12, 20 people, and now all of a sudden you're working with 200 or 400 people, that changes the game. If, like me, you were making decisions that maybe impacted 100 or 200 people and you've now jumped to thousands of people, does that really change the game? And what is important is to start realizing that at that scale, your gut is wrong. So what we learned today was about local optimization and systems optimization. So local optimization being when you make decisions that may make a component, a chunk of something better, but often at the detriment of the whole system, at the detriment of the bigger thing that you're trying to really make sense of and make better. And this happens all the time. And it's almost always that case that when you optimize something locally, when you optimize a part, you're actually hurting the system and you're really putting in jeopardy your larger goals, whatever those may be. There's a problem with that in those of us who've trusted our guts. And it's that, as Danny Kahneman says in his book, Thinking Fast and Slow, and in a bunch of his research, when we trust our guts, we're making these fast decisions, and those fast decisions cannot help but be about the here and now, what's directly in front of us. We are all evolved to think that way, and those will be local optimization decisions. We will decide what is right for me, what is right for these people in front of me, what is right for what I need to deliver tomorrow. And when we're making those decisions, we're actually making our systems worse progressively. And those of you that are in management roles and org design roles and coaching roles and any sort of leadership position, that's killing us. So what the focus was today was giving us tools and techniques so that we can slow down and stop just trusting our gut and going with what feels right, and really starting to analyze our systems and work together in groups to get diverse viewpoints and opinions about systems forces, and then use that to influence decisions we might be making. So the biggest diagram we drew today, the biggest causal loop diagram at the wall, had a number of variables that Craig provided to us, which helped a ton in learning the technique. And we just had to figure out how they impacted each other. So we were looking at things like the number of lists or backlogs you might have in your organization, and how many per team or per product, and how that can impact your adaptability as an org. So your ability to change directions and priorities in order to really go after the highest value or highest potential value items. And what we saw was the more lists, the more backlogs an organization has, the less likely you are to be adaptive. And I wish I could give you that learning, but one of the things we learned was that is best done through exploration, through sitting at a wall and looking at and talking through all of these forces and how it leads you to that conclusion. And why I call that out is how important that exercise is, because it seems counterintuitive. So when we look at work, especially these large scale organizations I work in, and you go, okay, it is so big, we need to break it down. And if we could just tell these 4 people, you do this, and you do this, then that is the best way of managing it, because they'll have clarity of role, they will have clarity of purpose, they will know exactly what they need to do, and then we can glue that all together when we're done. And that seems intuitively correct. So much so that it can make people feel good. The teams feel teamy because they are very narrowly focused on a specific thing and they feel like they own it. They have this local sense of ownership. It can make people have this sense of control where they look and go, okay, we've taken this thing and broken it down into pieces, and in 3 months we'll get it all back and we can piece it together and then we'll deliver this thing. So you feel like you've done something. It also generates a bunch of these management positions where people, very much like myself, are there to help make sense of the coordination. So how do we like air traffic control all this? And it seems not only good, but maybe great, like this is how you should work. And that feeling is the problem. Because when we then go and lay out what's actually happening and all of the long-term consequences, you start to see that those things that feel good, especially in the short term, are causing continuous long-term harm to our organization's ability to deliver great value to our customers. The other big aha for me was the fact that before we can do anything, before we can talk about org design, product definition, team formation, all the stuff that comes from org design, you have to agree what it is you're optimizing. So when you look at your system, you can't, as Peter Senge says in the laws of system thinking, you can't have your cake and eat it too at the same time. So you've got to figure out, are we optimizing for adaptiveness? Are we optimizing for security and secrecy? Are we optimizing for time to market, where we're willing to cut all corners at all costs to beat competitors out and maybe be a market mover, when we're willing to incur all the costs from that? There's a bunch of different things you can be maximizing, but you can only maximize one of them because they are often in conflict with each other. So if you turn one dial up, the other one goes down. And if we try to be lukewarm, try to turn all the dials, we'll end up with a lukewarm system without a clarity of purpose or vision or values. So before you do org design, before you do process design, before you try to make sense of your operating model, you need to understand what it is you are trying to optimize. And everyone needs to agree to that. We are trying to optimize for adaptiveness, our ability to respond to change very quickly. And then as you go through and make decisions, you can talk about trade-offs. Are you willing to trade off that good feeling teams have about like sense of ownership at this local level? Are you willing to trade that to get this ability to pivot and change and really deliver great customer experiences because you are testing them constantly and improving them based on customer feedback? And that is not anything anyone can tell you. One of the big concepts in this class is you need to own, not rent, your transformation, which means these decisions need to come from internal. You can't outsource your learning. You can't hire a consultancy to come and tell you what to optimize or how to design. It needs to be what you're doing. So your job as a manager or leader is to do this, is to decide, what are we optimizing for? How are we going to do that? What are the trade-offs we're willing to give up? How are we going to test our assumptions and really start looking at this? So that own, not rent is rough. And that includes renting to internal orgs as well. If you are a leader of an organization, you cannot outsource your organizational design and systems thinking to a center of excellence. That must be done by you. That is your job, is to design the way your organization is going to function. And focusing on that structure is so important. So we looked at the different forces that can impact at large scale. So I work on a very small team. It's just me and JP. And that small scale is so different. We don't have to have as much rigor or structure because we are constantly getting feedback and constantly challenging each other, and our work is very fluid. So the things that we need to work on are really personal skill things. Are we improving our own experience and expertise? Are we finding ways to communicate more effectively? Are we figuring out how to prioritize and make sense of our work more effectively? A lot of the team maximization things have a big impact on the work that we do because we are at such small scale. However, when you look at things like these big organizations, so like consumer lending or loan trading, like these big products, these big groups, those things don't really impact the value stream. They don't really impact your ability to deliver value. Each one of those teams could be amazing and could be continuously improving their expertise, but it's not actually mattering much. It's like a 1% dial increase when really what matters the most at that scale is systems design. So the ways that people are structured, the ways that they communicate, the ways that we're actually feeding work to and from people, that is the stuff that matters. And that is where we need to focus our efforts. So that's why like this 3-day class is not at all about Scrum. It's not about agility. It is not about LeSS as a framework. Not even a little bit. It is all about structures and systems that set you up to then lead you to great things and lead you to discovering what is going to work for you and coming to those conclusions based on the things you're trying to maximize. So I've got like a ridiculous pile of notes. I have stuff flowing through my brain. I'm sure I missed a bunch of stuff, but hopefully this whets your appetite. If it does, if you can get to any of the certified LeSS classes work more or less like this. So if you're looking at the LeSS for Executives, it's the one I'm in. The LeSS Practitioner one is also available to you. Awesome. If they're available to you, I love this. If that's not your cup of tea or they're not coming to a city near you, you can pick up The Fifth Discipline by Peter Senge, Thinking Fast and Slow by Danny Kahneman. And those are good foundations to start building up your understanding of systems and design and really trying to start making sense of how do we do this? Why does this matter? And how do I, as a manager, a leader, a change agent, really impact things in a sticky way, not in a fad way that's going to come and go or going to be flighty, but first principles, core things that will last for generations, that will really stand the test of time. So you'll hear more from me tomorrow night. Hopefully I get a chance to do this, but let me know what you'd like to hear more about. If there's a topic in that ramble that sparked your interest, if there's something you'd like me to dig in on or give you more detail. Like I said, I have a pile of notes. I'm more than willing to dig back up and give some more detail. But thank you as always, chiming in from New York. Talk to you later.